All right, welcome everyone. Cody Sell here. In this video, we're going to be looking at Elliott waves, and a lot of times after we talk about how things work, we like to talk about how things don't work, because that's just as important to understand where stuff starts to break down. So in this video, we're going to be looking at where Elliott wave analysis kind of breaks down, may lead to some bad trades or some incorrect biases, etc. So I just pulled us up to a random area. It's not hard to find areas where Elliott wave theory breaks down, and I know a lot of people solely trade Elliott wave, and this is why it's hard for me and a lot of real traders to take those guys seriously. So here, okay, we can see an example of a potentially successful Elliott wave analysis. You guys see we had our 5-wave completion, and then we're going to go bullish after that. Now what's going to happen here as we move up here? What is our Elliott wave exactly? So let's say we start, so this kind of came back after the ABC. 1, 2, we have to breach the high for 3. At which one of these retracements do you consider an Elliott wave retracement? And here's where the first issue comes up. So if we consider this our retracement, then our Elliott wave 5 completion was right here. Okay, but that's not where we completed. We went on to make another swing. Okay, so let's try again. If we say that our completion was here, the tip of this wave, can we pull back to here? That works a little bit better, but it still leaves you with the question of which one of these in the live market, guys, and that's the key, in the live market, are you going to be able to distinguish what the actual pullback is? Because look at this example right here. There's really not much of a difference between those two. They're equally valid. You can even make a case for this small retracement here, and depending on the Elliott wave, that may be the actual retracement. Okay, so the issue number one, and I'm going to write these down now here. Issue number one is the correct wave may not always be obvious. Okay, the correct wave may not always be obvious because there are multiple potentials. Now, let's look at problem number 2. Problem number 2 is the wave count may not always be correct. So the main theory behind Elliott waves, if the market moves in waves 3, may not always be correct. So in terms, just to give you guys an example, let me pull off the chart for a second. If we look at, let me make this black. If we look at a trending market, it looks like this, right? And we just keep going. So the problem where Elliott wave breaks down is Elliott wave says that after 5 waves, we should be pretty good for at least some kind of bearish move. And the problem is that in a trending market, it just doesn't work that way. Okay, so let's take a great example. Let's take our second zone right here. Elliott wave analysis, we have 1, 2, and then the low broke here, let's say maybe 3, okay, 4, 5, and then what? 6, 7. So we have a 7 count here. We have 7 waves in this sequence, right here in this little downtrend. And so again, you end up where a situation where the wave count was fairly obvious. You knew where each wave was, but towards the end, price continued to go. And that is a very light example, guys. There are a lot of examples where price will continue on. I've even seen up until like wave 12, wave 13, wave 14, price is still trending. So this is not always going to hold, guys. Sometimes Elliott wave just simply breaks down, and you don't get the examples that you're looking for. Guys, look over here on the left, right in here. Look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we have 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. And then after wave 15, we actually reverse. Okay, so now there are ways around this, guys. Elliott wave can be used in several different ways, especially when you utilize the ABC corrections. That does fix some of these issues, but that brings up an entirely new issue of where do you start from an Elliott wave, and at what point do you begin your next Elliott wave sequence with the corrections in between it. It becomes very intricate, and honestly it becomes very subjective. And the problem with anything that is subjective is that when it comes to live market trading, it opens up problems. Okay, now the issue might not always be that the wave count is longer than Elliott wave. Sometimes the wave count is shorter than Elliott wave. So here's a great example. So we have a nice bullish push here. 1, 2, 3. What happens here? We don't even get a wave 5. Okay, price comes down. We have our wave 2 low here. The second that this breaches our Elliott is considered invalid, which it does, and then we carry on in a new direction, right? So here we have a case where our wave is actually shorter than Elliott would predict. So there are two different versions of issue number 2 with the incorrect wave count. Okay, and guys, I can really go through, and I just want to take you through a conceptual example instead of showing you in here where things get really messy. You can just, let me do this. Let me pull this over and just know that I'm talking about an area like this. Okay, so what happens when price ranges? What's your Elliott wave count? Okay, what is it? And what happens when we just barely breach the low and then we make a new high? No matter where you are in your Elliott wave count, that just doesn't make sense, right? You're getting messed up in here. And so guys, like these are examples here. Maybe we could come down from here. These are examples of where Elliott wave analysis starts to break down, and we looked at an example in a previous video where we were looking at, it was wave 4. So we had wave 4 correction, and we were looking for our wave 5. And I told you guys, look, here we triple bottomed. We didn't really make a wave 5. Sometimes that happens. Like, yeah, it's one thing to understand that sometimes wave 5 is a double bottom or a triple bottom or whatever. It's another thing, though, to be able to apply that to live market, because you can't just assume that you're not going to have a wave 5 and be prepared for this reversal, because then when you do have a wave 5, you lose, right? And how many times, guys, how many times do you see a double top or a double bottom reverse the market? Each time that happens, Elliott wave is getting wrecked. It's very hard to trade Elliott wave in those situations. So it's important to understand that, I can show you guys examples where Elliott wave works, and I can show you a ton of examples where it does not. And one thing I want you guys to understand is that it's one thing to pull up this chart and mark waves 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 in hindsight. It's a whole different thing to mark waves 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 in the live market. And that's what these trainings are for. They're here to show you that, yes, of course, I can look at this and I can easily say, guys, look how easy this is. Wave 1, 2, 3, and then maybe I'm just like, oh yeah, 4 and 5. What's the problem? How easy is that? Right? But in the live market, it's not really this easy. And in the live market, things break down. In the live market over here, you probably would have been thinking, here's a pretty solid pullback for wave 1 here, and a pretty solid wave 2 forming. I'm expecting wave 3, 4, and 5. But what's going to happen? Right? In hindsight, it was pretty obvious. In hindsight, it was like this. Wave 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right? It was these smaller waves. But that's where things break down in the live market. And that's what I want you guys to be able to see and recognize, not only for your live market trading, but also for when you guys are testing this out, testing strategies, you need to understand when this breaks down. So hope you guys got the value you needed from this video. If not, go back and watch it a couple times, and I will see you guys next time.